And those people who were so weak became challenged. And so I think we need more challenge to our lives. We need new beliefs about who we are. And the way you get those beliefs is by new experiences. But we live in a very pampered stage, or at least our children do for sure. And that's not their fault. But like, they can pick up a phone and get the answer to any question ever thought of in humanity. They can dictate something, have it turned into a product, a vibe code, and instantaneously. But what changed my life, I think what you're alluding to, was when I was 11 years old, fourth father, no money. I saved, no money, no food. We had crackers and peanut butter, but it was Thanksgiving. So it makes it really intense. We're not having a turkey dinner, right? And everybody else is having one. And my dad and mom were screaming at each other. We had this little house, but my mom had this room and she'd close the door. And my dad would scream out through the door and she'd yell at him about what a loser he was and how he didn't take care of his family and just stuff you can't take back, unfortunately. And then there's a knock at the door and I open the door and there's this tall guy standing there with 2 bags of groceries, 1 in each arm. And then he had an uncooked turkey on the ground, frozen. And he goes, "Is your father here?" And I'm like, "Just one." This is like Santa Claus, right? So I go to get my dad. He goes, "You answer." I said, "No, it's for you, Dad." And I'm waiting there like bated breath, so excited to see his face and think like, this is the gift from God. And he got angry when he saw the guy. He said, "We don't take charity." And he went to slam the door. I mean, this man had both these groceries and he had leaned in and hit his shoulder, bounced open again, which didn't even make my dad very happy. The guy said, Sir, I'm just the delivery guy." He said, "Look, somebody knows you're having a tough time. Everybody has tough times. They want your family to have a great, Thanksgiving." My dad said, "We don't take charity," and went to push again. But because the guy had bounced in there, his foot then got in the way and it backed open again. So now my father's really animated. And then the guy said something. I thought my dad wasn't going to punch him in the face. He wasn't trying to be mean. He didn't say it harshly, but he looked at my father and he said, "Sir," because he saw me and he nudged his head towards me. He said, "Don't make your family suffer because of your ego." And my dad, never forget the veins in the side of his, he was beet red. I thought he was going to punch him. And then there's this moment where I'll never forget, his shoulders just dropped. He took the bags of food, he threw it on the table and he slammed the door and didn't even say thank you. And I was shocked. I didn't know what to think. I was like, why isn't he happy? What's going on here? And it took me years to figure it out, but it became a gift in my life because my father left shortly thereafter. It was, to me, I thought the worst day of my life. But it became the best day in many ways. One reason was that there's 3 decisions we're making every moment in our life. Your viewers or listeners are experiencing it right now. You and I are experiencing it. Every moment. You don't do it consciously most of the time. You have to decide what to focus on. You can focus on what your next question is. You can focus on what I'm saying. You can focus on what are you gonna have for lunch. You can focus on how does this relate to my life. We don't experience life. We experience the life we focus on. And what's wrong is always available, so is what's right. Whatever you focus on, that's gonna be your life. But the minute you focus on something, the second decision your brain makes is, what does this mean? It has to make a decision. Does this mean the end or the beginning? Does this mean this person is dissing me? Are they challenging me? Are they coaching me? Are they loving on me? Whatever your answer is, the meaning produces emotion. And as I said, emotion produces your actions, or the third decision, which is, what am I gonna do? If you're angry, you're gonna do something very different than if you're feeling grateful, obviously, or excited or loved. And so I looked at that a few years later, I was like, that's what happened that day. My father focused on how he had not fed his family. It was obvious, he said it over and over again, muttering it. And the meaning he gave it was the worst part, because he said, therefore I'm worthless. And he decided to leave. And the only difference in me, I wasn't any better, I was just fortunate, I guess. My brain focused on it was food, what a concept. But the thing that changed my whole life, Peter, was the idea that, this means strangers care. Because my father, we grew up in an environment I thought was a wealthy community and we were poor, but it was a lower middle class community and we were really poor, right? We were on the other side of the railroad tracks, quite literally. And it didn't look like anybody cared. Everybody treated you like crap. And all of a sudden I'm looking at this and saying, someone delivered food for my family, an entire dinner, and they don't even want credit. I don't even know who it is. To this day, I don't know who did it.
Wow.
Right? And think of what that would mean. So in that day, I was like, I made a decision. My decision was, someday I'm gonna do this for 2 families. I'm gonna pay this forward. I was just 11. So when I was 17, I fed 2 families, and I won't bore you with all the details, but the experience was so moving. One of the families was a Hispanic family, didn't speak English. I'd written this note for them. I had it in Spanish too. I went as the delivery boy because I wanted to see it, not to be thanked. And long story shortened, these 4 kids, this woman with 4 kids, her husband had just left 3 days before with no money and no food. And I show up with all these groceries, and they saw the pumpkin pie, they went a little crazy. It was one of the emotional experiences. The next year I did 4, and then 8, and then I got to 1 million people, and then eventually 2 million, and then about 12 years ago, when we were working together, I decided, I called my office because I saw so many people still suffering, and I said, how many people have I fed in my lifetime? And they said 42 million. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Then I thought, what if I've scaled businesses? What if I scaled my philanthropy? What if I did as much in 1 year as I've done in my whole life? What if I did 50 million meals in a year? And I was like, what if I did 100 million a year? What if I did 100 million a year for 10 years and did 1 billion meals? And I wrote Money Master the Game, which is how we met. And I donated all that money and I started that. And then I'm proud to tell you, we did it in 8 years. And now I'm doing a 100 million meal challenge because the issues around the world are much larger. And when I came up with it, I got Governor Beasley was the head of the World Food Program, was my partner. He left the UN because of all the bureaucracy. And I said, we're gonna feed people no one else does. Like in the Sudan, there were 1 million people just recently surrounded by rebels, and they were cutting them off from food, men, women, and children. MBS from Saudi Arabia provided money, UN provided money, they killed the drivers, took the food, so no one would give any money. So I said, I'll provide 1 million people with food for a week, who will match me? And Ray Dalio stepped up, and a bunch of people stepped up. We had about 40 million, but how are you gonna get the food in? I said, we're gonna hire some military contractors to fly C-130s in, and we're gonna use drones and deliver it. And we delivered 22,000 meals to people who are starving. Anyway, we're doing the same thing in Gaza. Last night I got a video of what we're doing in Gaza, but we've delivered 62 billion meals in 3 years. And no one thought these numbers could ever be done in 10 years. So I've learned that if you understand how to harness human emotion, not let human emotion stop you, if you understand human needs at a different level, there's nothing you can't do. You can build a business, you can build philanthropy, you can have an extraordinary life. I think most people, there's several. A lot of people trying to be perfect, they're afraid to fail. But I think the biggest belief that I hear comes from like the therapy world that I think it's sunk into people's heads, which is, I'm here today because of something that happened in my past. Yeah. That my past equals my future, that my biography is my destiny. And it's total bullshit. You and I both know you can have pretty rough background and you can make new decisions, and the decisions control your life, not the past. The past can be a trigger, the past can be a filter, the past can feel heavy, but you can change that. You can make a decision right now to change it all. I always tell people, it's like, you don't like your body, change it. You don't like your relationship, change it. You don't like your business, change it. If you're gonna change your relationship, better change you first or you'll take the same person along with you, right? But it's like, all you have to do is decide. Decision is the power that everyone's given. We are given choice. Why are people stressed? Are you gonna try and tell me that it's more stressful today than the dark ages? Right. Or when a tiger was chasing you? Come on. The reason we're stressed is because most of us have fallen into managing what we have. And that's a survival technique. Managing what you have, keeping what you have, like make a living instead of design a life. And when you do that, we're not made to maintain. We're not made to just manage, to be here and then die. We were created by a creator, I believe, something, and whatever you believe spiritually, you don't have to be religious to say something created me, and we were given the power to create. And when you're creating, all that stress and anxiety disappears because it's no longer about you, you're about bringing something to the world instead of what am I gonna get or what I'm gonna hang on to. That puts you in scarcity. We both have people who've got 10-figure net worth plus and who are still living in scarcity. And it's like, and people who have nothing that feel like they have abundance. People usually bump up against, I'm not enough. The whole idea that today they talk about it in a trite way. It's like, I remember talking to Tony Hopkins, the actor, he's a good friend of mine. And I was surprised because this guy is so obsessed that he not only knows his own lines, I've made a few movies, and I was shocked that people didn't know their lines, but you shoot things 10,000 times. So he knows his own lines and every other person's lines. And so he's that committed and he's that great an actor. And he says to me, Tony, I feel like, I'm a facade, I'm a phony, and I'm gonna get found out. And so I think not everybody has that exact belief, but the idea that maybe I'm not enough for this level that I'm going to, or the level I want to go to in my life, whether it's, they might be great in business, but they're not doing great in their relationship, or they're great in a relationship, but they're not good with their kids, or they're good with the kids, but their body's not where they want to be. They got all the money, but not the body, right? And so I think most people bump up against that fear that something in me is not enough, and the deeper fear is that if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And so it's an unconscious fear. So most people push it aside by focusing on what they're good at and not taking care of those other things till they bite them, the relationship, the body, whatever it is, the kids. or they come up with a story about, well, I don't need to be good at that, or that's just not my nature. And so I'm often called in to help somebody, sharpen their skills. But you're right, usually there's a limiting belief of some sort. So I couldn't say there's one, but if I was saying the most dominant one, it's like, I've never done this before, so how the hell am I gonna do it, right? There's uncertainty. If you look at a great athlete, what makes a great athlete? There's that sense of not only you practice and you got it in your nervous system, you're incredible in your strategy in the sport, but there's the state you bring to the table. So I'm sure you've seen an athlete, a basketball player in the NBA about to shoot a free throw, a kicker in the NFL, and they go jogging out there and you look at them and you go, they're gonna miss it. And sure enough, they do. Everyone's had that experience. How did they know? They saw the lack of certainty in their body, right? And so when you try to get yourself to do something you've never done before, it produces that kind of uncertainty. So I always tell people, if you want a breakthrough, I think of it as three things at the most simple level to create a breakthrough. A breakthrough being, maybe there's an area that you've not gotten to where you want to be and you've promised yourself you're going to do it and then you don't follow through, or you fall back and you're frustrated with yourself. Most people have had something like that, but one day they did break through. They did finally say enough of this. And that day, that moment, they changed their relationship, they quit what they're doing, they started something new. And what I found is there's three parts to that breakthrough. And if you want to break through in any area, these are the things you got to do. But I want to give you in reverse order real fast. Okay, so reverse order is most people, they want to make something happen, they focus on the strategy. Now, I'm a strategist. I get paid to be able to show someone how to save a decade, because the right strategy in business can save you 10 years, right? Can accelerate your earnings, can decrease your costs. There's so many tools. The right strategy in a relationship is priceless. It'll turn it around. But as much as I love strategy, it's not what I start with people. The reason is because the natural question is, I want to achieve this, but how do I do it? There's nothing wrong with answering the question how. It's just the sequence of these that are critical. It's like if I told you this is someone's phone number and you have the right numbers and you dial the wrong order, you're not going to reach them.
Right.
If you knew the vault numbers but you put in the wrong order, the vault doesn't open. When it comes to a breakthrough, most people are focused on the strategy, the how-to, and the problem is when you go to how to do something you've never done before, it brings uncertainty.
Yes.
And uncertainty creates hesitancy, and hesitancy kills momentum. Hesitancy kills performance. Hesitancy kills, most things that really matter in your life. So what I tell people is, if you took at something like losing weight and you said, most of America is overweight, why is that? Is it because the strategy for being fit and strong is so complex? No. Is it only for the 1%? No. Is it super expensive? No. You have to basically ignore everything that's around you, right? So it's not a strategy problem. People think it's a strategy problem. It's not. The real problem is they have a story. So think of these three S's. The story is locking them in place. The story is what you said, a belief. But when you stack a set of beliefs together, you build a story. And you tell it to yourself over and over again until you believe it. So the story is, I've tried everything.
Yes.
And I'll say to them, really, everything? How many things you tried? I've tried thousands of things. Then I go, okay, name them. And they'll go,
I've tried two things.
Yeah, exactly. These two things that don't work, I did over and over again, right? But as long as you believe that, a belief is the feeling of certainty about what can be done or can't be done, right? Who you are, who you're not. So when you go first for how, you have uncertainty. I call it the tyranny of how. You don't want to get to the how first. You got to deal with the story before that, right? So the story might be all the good ones are gone, right? Or they're all gay and I'm not, or I'm gay and they're not. Some story that makes it impossible to succeed. If you change the story, you can get a strategy that works. But the order people work on is strategy. Rarely pay attention to story, but the one before that is where we need to start. It's your state. It's your mental, emotional state. As an athlete, you know this, right?
Yes.
So that state of certainty, that state of passion, that state of conviction, that state of absolute determination, right? That state that every great athlete has, that state, any great leader has, any great business person has, if you have that state, it will change your story. And it'll change what you're able to do strategy-wise. So like, for example, have you ever gotten pissed off at somebody and then remembered everything you've ever been pissed at them about? It's like you get in that mode, you remember everything, right?
Yeah.
Or when somebody's in love, what's wrong with life when they're in love?
Nothing.
It's
amazing.
So your story changes with your state, right? Your story about your life. It could be one day it's horrible, the next day, life's a gift. So the most important thing to do is change your state first. That's why most people fail to achieve what they want. They have not become masters of their own mental, emotional state. And in our events, that's my number one piece, because without that, you won't get lasting change. You'll get temporary change.
Yes.
Once I get enough state, I can change the story. That's easy. Once I change the story, if I don't give you the strategy, you'll find a strategy.
Yes.
You'll make it happen. You'll find the way, you'll make the way. You've lived this as an athlete and as a businessman. So I look at this and say, the problem is most people do it in reverse order. When they go in reverse order, they stop the process. They don't know how. They freak out about the uncertainty. Their story doesn't support them, and now they're in a lousy state. And so they try something for a little while and never follow through.
Yes.
So that's the breakthrough I do.